Well, we finally got the answer we've all been waiting for. Which driver is better? Turns out Hamilton is better than Max, and Max is a car merchant. I'm
Yes.
sure you all agree. Let's jump into the Blatantly Biased Racing Podcast.
Welcome to the Blatantly Biased Racing Podcast. Now here's a bald guy and some Indian.
Hey, how are you?
I thought you'd say that orange is the new red.
I, that's vaguely racist. But anyway, let's move on.
Wait, what? How?
I'm joking.
I was thinking
I know
McLaren
you
is the
mean
new
McLaren,
Ferrari.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm joking. Yeah, they definitely went to like Ferrari strategy school over there.
Yeah, it was oddly
This the
Ferrari
winter.
like, right? And even the
so bad.
way Oscar was defending and Lando was defending the call, it sounded like I've heard Kimi Räikkönen talk in the same manner,
Yeah,
or Vettel talk in the same, or Leclerc.
very odd.
Yeah, we'll get to them.
Yeah.
First of all, Canadian Grand Prix, Kimi Antonelli makes it 4 wins in a row.
4 in a row. Yep.
Yeah. Yep. Championship favorite now? How would you describe it?
I mean, this is the thing. Like, if it was, a lot of this is like down to bad luck for George, right? Like, I mean, even if you say like 2 of the 4 races at the very least, like Miami, that's all on George. He just wrote it off. He performed badly. That's fine. Japan, he didn't do as well as he should have, but you can say he got unlucky with the safety car there, you know, that way. So, like, again, he should have performed better anyway. I think he wasn't performing his best there, but part of that was luck. China, luck. Miami's all on him. Here, just bad luck. Like, he was driving really well. But I think George's biggest problem now is, like, he's having bad luck, but even if you take the bad luck away, Antonelli is, like, right on him, even at his best. So this is a real problem because, like, he's going to need Antonelli to have some really bad luck now, because if we're just trading it on performance, Antonelli has a 43-point advantage, and it doesn't look like he's going to be able to just win every race and, like, Antonelli come second. So he's going to need Antonelli to have some bad luck now over the season, which is kind of crazy. I didn't think we'd be saying that like 5 races in to the season, you know?
Yeah, even though I predicted Kimi to win, I didn't expect this to happen in any which way. It was a wild prediction, but hey, I'm more than happy if it comes true. I'll look like a wise man for a change. So
Yeah. A broken clock is right twice a day, you know?
I mean, yeah. Once a year is fine with me.
Twice a season. Yeah.
By the way, we'll talk about this more. First of all, if you're new to the channel, hit subscribe. Blatantly Biased Podcast. What we essentially try to do is we'll try to give you unbiased, unfiltered, in opinions. What else would you call it? Opinions, discourse,
Garbage.
everything. Yeah. Pretty much in as crude a language as possible. Jason will have a few Nazi references, which we can't do anything about. We'll have to live with it. But yeah,
How
if you're new
tall
to
was
the channel,
Hitler and where does he
subscribe.
live? He was about this high and over there. Anyway, sorry.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Someone is actually going to clip that one. Yeah. Maybe one
And
day.
without the sound as well. That's going to be the problem. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyhow, subscribe if
Yeah.
you're new to the channel. If you're
and
yeah.
if anyone's new here as well and you prefer audio, you can check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all those things. If you do like those, just leave a review. It helps it get shared. But yeah.
Cool. Yep. And with that, let's begin. Let's talk about the Canadian Grand Prix. We've given you a taste, but I think if you're talking about the whole Mercedes war, let's go step by step. First of all, let's talk about the sprint, because we didn't really get a chance to catch up during the weekend. Odd times this time. What was your view on the incident? I haven't asked you. The George Russell Kimi incident.
Yeah, I think this is the part where Kimi does need to be careful for his season, because one, I love the aggression. It was fantastic, great to watch, but it's very like Verstappen early on, for example, you know, that kind of like willing to just go for a lunge at any moment. Whereas, you know, Verstappen now, Hamilton now, George now, all these drivers, they know like when is kind of too much to kind of, you know, I'm in second position, I'm going for a title. I don't want to throw the entire race away over just an incident. And Kimi clearly just hasn't got that far yet, because he was just willing to just throw it anywhere he could to try and get ahead. I love it. I hope he keeps it up, but he does need to maybe just be a bit careful because, like we're talking about George having some bad luck here. If he does that and ends up in the barrier at a race and George wins, that's a 25-point swing back towards George. So Kimi was incredible. His racecraft, like just everything about this kid, he's clearly going to be one of the greats. I think like everything is there, but he's very obviously still in his second season because he was far too willing to like throw it into places and then far too willing to keep talking over to the radio to a point where Toto had to come on and say, okay, I need you to calm down now. You know, we need to stop this. Probably shouldn't do a German accent after that. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Your view on the incident, T1, where Kimi had to go straight on.
I guess he was forced a little bit, but he came in pretty late. I think that would have been classed as a racing incident if it was to the stewards personally. Like, I think it was pretty late in. But you could see why he was upset. Like, that is his teammate. You would expect his teammate to give him a little bit more room there. But I just don't think George is going to. I think George realizes this kid's going to be fighting him for the title the whole way through, and he's not going to give him an inch. And I reckon after this weekend, Kimi will probably be told, look, he's not going to give you an inch, so don't try and take one because it's going to end badly. But yeah.
Kimi was more than alongside George at the apex, and if it was not George, if it was any other driver, Lando, Oscar, Max, or anyone else, they would have been penalized.
You think George would have been penalized for it, basically, if there's any? Yeah,
Well, the
maybe
simple,
so.
the regulation states that if you're at least if you're overtaking around the outside, you have to be ahead. Your front axle has to be ahead of the front axle of the car on the inside. Kimi's front axle was ahead.
The
So he
inside
was
is the
entitled
mirrors,
to-
right? The outside
Sorry?
is the front. The inside is where the mirrors are used, right?
That's when you're trying to overtake down the inside.
Inside, yeah. The outside
Yeah.
is the front axles have to be alongside each other, right? Yeah.
Ahead. Not alongside, ahead.
I think it's just alongside. I don't think it's
No,
ahead.
it's ahead.
Is it? Is
I
it?
even I
Okay.
got corrected about this one.
Okay.
So it has to be ahead, and Kimi's front axle was ahead. So what needed to happen was he had to be given room. He wasn't given any room, and
Well,
yeah.
As long as he was able to stay on track as well.
he was staying on the track.
Yeah.
George pushed him off.
Okay. Yeah, I'd have to go back and watch it again, but I'll take your word for it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. If it's inter-team though, they're not going to give you that room, are they? They're not going to. The Mercedes aren't going to call it out.
And that's the problem.
Mm.
That's one problem. Secondly, I think if you remember over the last year or so, there's one thing that I've always said about Kimi, and one area where I've always had this contrast between Kimi and Max, which is that when we look at Max Verstappen's career, when he broke onto the scene, from the very first race, he had this chip on his shoulder and the kind of confidence where he was unabashedly confident that he was the best in the world and
Yeah.
on the grid, even as a
Yeah.
17 or 18-year-old. Kimi, when he joined the grid, he didn't have that kind of confidence. And for me, that was a bit of a red flag because his first year, he didn't really. I don't think we can look at his first year and say that there were moments of exuberance or just the kind of overtakes that Max was pulling off in his first year. We didn't really see that from Kimi. This
Yeah.
year, I think the race in Canada is the first time where I've seen that. And it's, as you said earlier, there are so many parallels with Max. He's brutal when it comes to, there's zero fear. And on Sunday, there was this particular move where both Kimi and George were right alongside each other. And it's essentially both of them are almost locked wheel to wheel and they take the chicane.
Yeah.
I like, okay, now they're going to crash. Now they're going to crash. And if you remember, we were texting back and forth and I continued, they're going to crash now.
Yeah.
This is about to happen. And then fucking engine blew up. But
Yeah.
there's 18 years of age, 18, 19 years of age. I just love that.
Mhm.
He's fearless. He's willing to talk back to a Toto. He's willing to be aggressive. I prefer that compared to a very someone whose shoulders are drooped, someone who's yes, Toto, tell me what needs to be done and stuff like that. He's not that's the kind of perception that he had built in front of us in the last 16, 17 months. What we saw in Canada was a driver who was, first of all, who was confident in himself. Second, who knew that he wanted to win and he didn't give a fuck who was his teammate. There's
Yeah.
no reputation or anything that comes in the way. He's going for it. I love
No,
that.
he's. I like as well that he's admitted he's like, no, I'm thinking about the title. You know, every other driver is like, well, it's too early. He's like, no, I'm thinking about the title.
Yeah.
You know, so he's got this in his mind now, and I think the simple thing is, I think the race wins, and like the fact that he's like knows he's going toe to toe with George, who is definitely one of the best drivers on the grid. Like, there's no argument about that. The fact that he's going toe to toe with him, and in fact outshining him at points in his second season, I think he's like now fully confident in himself that he's like, no, I'm here, I'm ready to win. Like, that's it. You know, like there's no more like I need to prove myself to anyone. Like, I'm here, and
First
that's
time it
pretty
stood out for me.
intense.
I just love that. And again, let's be honest, it was less than optimal the way he went about it. The sprint
Yeah,
was
yeah.
not really. I would not have been surprised if they crashed on Sunday.
Yeah.
It was so
It
close
was building
to it.
wasn't it?
Yeah,
You know?
100%.
Yeah.
Because George was not going to back off. And
No,
to
and
me,
Antonelli wanted the win, so it was
Yeah.
like yeah.
plus both of them were making these the lockups and all. We'll discuss the lockups as well after a
Yeah.
bit later, because I think a lot of people have misunderstood why these lockups are happening. And again, the broadcast was dog shit. They never mentioned why so many lockups are happening, even though drivers had been talking about it throughout the race weekend. But yeah,
Which broadcast were you watching? Because I think Jolien did talk about it a
F1
couple
TV.
of times. Okay.
No, the reason why these lockups were happening here is because since these, let's get into it then. The Canadian GP track layout. So in this track layout, compared to everything else we've had until now, so Canada is what? It has two long straights. There are a couple of there's a hairpin, there's a chicane, and then you have these short straights. That is it. That's what the Canadian
Yeah.
GP track
Yeah,
layout
yeah.
is. So what happens is, first of all, your tire temps drop. Secondly, because tire temps are dropping, the traction is variable. Since the traction is variable, your deployment is variable.
Yeah.
And if deployment is variable, a driver doesn't know if he'll have 400 kilowatts or 500 kilowatts or 600 kilowatts at the end of the straight.
Yeah.
That's why
Yeah,
this
yeah.
variable means they are unable to know at what point they have to brake. That's why the lockups
Lovely.
are happening.
Okay. Yeah.
Exactly. That's the word that came
Beautiful.
out. Lovely. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why it's happening. So that's why George continued to lock up, Kimi continued to lock up. Both of them had similar lockups, and they weren't the only one. I'm almost 90% sure Oscar's incident into Albon in the
Yeah.
in the hairpin was also a result of that. But yeah, that's
Yeah.
the issue. Jumping to
Well,
the
these-
race, by the way, we
Mhm.
talked about the sprint and everything, and yeah, again, Kimi kind of fucked things up for himself. He showed his age, being an 18-year-old and 19-year-old, the way he kind of had a lot of exuberance. Even the move on Lando around the outside, it was essentially he was trying to repeat what he did with George. Didn't really
Yeah.
work out. It's okay. One thing also they missed in qualifying. Why did George secure pole position and Kimi did not?
I don't know. I can't remember. But
Because
what was the moment?
because Kimi did his final lap. Kimi started his final lap when there was 1 minute and 40 seconds on the clock left
Yeah.
in Q3. George started his final lap when there were 20 seconds left on the clock.
So yeah.
Yeah, and this was
Okay.
something he improvised. This wasn't planned.
Yeah.
This is where the experience comes into the picture.
It's little bits of experience like that are going to make a huge difference. But
Yep.
the only problem George has is that his experience is being outweighed by bad luck at the minute. And like,
Talent. And Kimi's
yeah,
talent.
like Kimi. Well, this is the thing though. Like, I mean, George is a very, very talented race. Like, we saw the two of them go toe to toe. When it comes to like pace, racecraft, all these things, it's kind of crazy that Antonelli's already where he is. But like,
Yeah.
George just cannot afford weekends like Miami now. That's it. Like, that's that. You know. Yeah. But
By the
yeah,
way,
Kimi does need to
after-
bring up that experience.
Yeah,
definitely.
and by the way, after qualifying, Kimi came on the radio to Bono and said, "Why was my lap? When did he do his lap?" And
Yeah.
at that point, Bono told him, and he was furious, rightly so. And these are the little things that will come into the picture, and it will start building up. So overall, again, we come to the race. A lot of things happened. George and ultimately ended up getting shafted. But if you look at it, the way the race was tending, it could have gone either way. It could have gone Kimi's way or George's way. It was marginal, whichever way it was going to be. But everything that George was doing by that point, he had to rely heavily on his experience to find
Yeah.
that minimal gains.
Yeah.
I think if we talk about the championship, I think it's going to come down to that.
I think the good news is they're both very, when it comes to just pace and talent, they are very, very evenly matched. And it's going to very much rely on, like, I think we're going to see a fun side to this because it's going to rely on, like, obviously George is going to bring his experience and, like, know when to go for things and so on. And Kimi then will have the other side of that, which can work out sometimes as well, which is just that absolute, like, I'll just lunge down here, like, I'll just do that. And George won't make those moves in that way because he'll know, like, there's a championship on the line, whereas Kimi will just go for it. So it is going to be that ultimate, like, experience versus just absolute no fear going for it. I think it's going to be an interesting season. I think we'll need to see. I guess I just hope that for the rest of the season we don't get, like, weird reliability issues on one side of the garage or whatever. Like, I want to see them just going head to head. But I guess from Monaco as well, we're going to have a different championship too, because McLaren, if they stop playing stupid games, are going to be there as well. So
The regulations also going to change. The compression ratio thing.
Yeah, it's not going to make a difference.
Let's see.
It's not going to make a difference.
Yeah. It won't make a drastic difference because if it was supposed to make a drastic difference, there would have been a lot more noise around it. But there's also,
The thing is, sorry to butt across, but, like, the thing is,
speak up.
when it comes to the difference it'll make, even if it makes a difference in reality, it's going to make a difference between the Mercedes powered cars and the other powered cars. Like, it's not going to make a difference between McLaren and Mercedes, in my opinion. So I just think where Red Bull and Ferrari are at, to be honest, I don't think the difference in compression ratio is going to make up for the shambles that Ferrari have made with their engine and, like, the problems that Red Bull is having with it. Because, we'll talk about it, but this should have been a strong track for Red Bull. And it kind of was at the end, but only really because of everything else that happened on track. Like,
McLaren fucked up,
yeah,
basically.
like, well, but also, like, Max finished third. He should have finished at least fifth, if not sixth.
Sixth, yeah.
So, like, I don't know. There's just,
No, you're absolutely right. When it comes to that.
I think it's probably going to make at most a tenth or two of difference. That's it, in my opinion.
But 10th or 2 is a lot.
Yeah, sure.
Ferrari's 3 tenths down to Mercedes in both race pace and quali.
Yeah,
And Ferrari will be eligible for IDO.
Sure. Yeah. So that could help them more so. But I'd be surprised if it even makes the 10 or 2 of difference, is the way I said it, kind of nonchalantly.
I don't, because if it was supposed to make that much of a difference, it would have been talked about a lot more. You don't let that kind of an advantage go.
Yeah.
Coming back to the title battle, are you willing to get off the ledge and pick your favorites out of the two? Right now already there are 17, potentially 19 races left.
I think the thing is, I think it's too early for one reason, which is I do think as the season goes on, like, luck balances out, right? You know what I mean? So, like, basically in every season, luck just balances out. And we see this all the time. So I think, like, George being 40 points down at this stage for me just means nothing, because I think if George is having some reliability issues with the car, which he has had some, again, as I've mentioned, some of it has been down to him. Miami in particular was just him not being good enough. But, like, some other tracks, he has just had reliability and strategy issues, Like, Kimi could have won anyway at Japan, But you still have to say, like, it would have at least been an
maybe
even
not.
fight if it wasn't for the strategy call, like the issues in qualifying at China that I've talked about. This one is obviously just straight out reliability. Kimi just will have some of those issues later in the season.
Yeah.
If we go by history, that will just happen. So I
And
think
at some
that'll even
point,
out.
Yep.
But the thing is, I wonder if, from a mentality point of view, like if I had to put money on it, I'd probably say Kimi, because I think Kimi's just hungrier for it right now. And I think that George was a bit too complacent in like how much he needed to bring to this season to beat Kimi. And I think that complacency very quickly swings into desperation. Whereas I think Kimi is just locked into I'll go. And I think those mistakes will probably be less than the mistakes that desperation will bring for George, if that makes sense. And George could very easily as well like swing the team against him to where they're not going to help him out either. That way. So if I had to put money on it now, it would be Kimi, but it's way too early and way too close, I think, to call.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I'm with you.
I don't think either of them will win the championship though.
Even at this point, you know who's the closest challenger to them right now?
Hamilton or Leclerc?
Yeah,
Well, let's
Leclerc
see.
is
Yeah.
what I think he's 50 plus points behind. I have zero faith in Ferrari doing anything good.
I think Lando wins the title.
Lando is too far behind now. He's what,
No.
60 plus points behind, 65.
Doesn't
something.
matter.
Yeah. McLaren shook
From-
my faith today. Yesterday.
From Monaco, McLaren will have the fastest car. And yes, they've been fucking up, but I think unlike
From
Ferrari,
Barcelona, you mean?
unlike Ferrari, McLaren. No, Monaco's next week, right?
Monaco is a week later, right? This week we don't have a race, right?
Yeah, Monaco's next week, right? This is the next one.
Yeah.
Sorry. Is it Monaco
Ferrari's
before
going to win
Spain
that
this
one.
year? Yeah. Yeah, Ferrari's going to win Monaco, I think, because of the car. We'll talk about it next week, but I think McLaren will be second there. And then I think when it comes to
Red Bull might
McLaren
be
versus
second.
Mercedes, maybe. But when it comes to McLaren versus Mercedes, from that point on, I think McLaren have, in my opinion, McLaren have already got the better car. I think it's marginal, but I think they already have the better car.
The problem is they had to remove the front wing, the upgraded front wing. So
Yeah.
that will come back in Barcelona. And again, it was probably not the right call to bring it in Canada. Canada is a very low downforce track, so it didn't really make sense.
Sprint race weekend, all of those things.
Yeah. So let's see where it goes. My worry is they have to fix their operations. But again, we'll talk about
We'll talk about
we'll
that in
talk
a
about
minute,
McLaren later. Coming to the Mercedes thing, your view on how Toto handles the whole thing and how he handled it on Saturday, Sunday.
I think it's fine. Like, it kind of, the only thing about it is, and this is a strange thing to say, it's kind of going to make me miss McLaren's antics a little bit, because McLaren very much are like, just don't crash and let them run. Like, until they crash, they just don't really say anything.
Yeah.
Whereas Mercedes did get over the radio and basically say, if you continue like this, we're going to get involved.
Yeah, when did
You
this
know,
happen?
It wasn't
missed it
actually
or something.
played over the, it wasn't played over the actual broadcast.
Then how do you know?
Someone reported it, and then I was able to pull it back and go into, I think it was Kimi's radio, and listen to it. So it was reported.
It was there.
Yeah. So
Well,
it was basically just like,
didn't
if you keep going,
deter
we're
them
gonna
in
have to get
any which way.
involved. It didn't seem to. But like, I think that like McLaren won't get involved with the drivers unless it's like last thing. Whereas I think Mercedes will. I think they'll get involved when they have to. Especially, I think that's going to be more and more interesting if I am right and like McLaren start really piling on the pressure. Say in Barcelona, McLaren are fighting for a win, and they start realizing, oh, McLaren could actually be fighting us for a title here. I think that's when Mercedes start, being more hands-on, and that's going to really irritate people. And I think the people who kept saying, oh, McLaren need to, back Oscar or whatever, are the same people who are going to be like, why is Mercedes getting involved now?
yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. Because for me, this weekend, I think Toto was fine, but
Yeah.
he seemed very awkward when he was when George was coming back to the pits, it was a very awkward way in which the two gestured and everything.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm reading too much into it.
I think that was going to be awkward, though. George was, fair enough, was very pissed off as well, you know?
Yeah, but the hug and the embrace was not really a very the relationship seems to have deteriorated. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. Plus also Joss and his manager were seen chatting up with Toto, and Max
Yeah.
did not commit to Red Bull for 2027 this weekend, even though he
Yeah.
said he'll be racing in 2027. Let's see what happens there.
We'll find out soon, won't we? Because there's only like a month or so now until the contract performance clause is up.
No.
2 months.
Performance. So the clause will get activated in Austria if Max is not in top two, but he can
Which he
take
won't be,
the
yeah.
call by September or October, which race I don't remember. So that's
Yeah, but I mean, like, we'll start hearing more once that clause is broken. Like, once he has
clause
options,
is done already, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's not going to be in top two.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's stop. That's not even a pipe dream anymore. So yeah, let's see what happens with it. For me, if the biggest takeaway was this is, first of all, it's not over in any which way. Secondly, there are a few chinks in the Kimi Antonelli armor that kind of got exposed, and we probably might have ended up having a very different narrative at the end of Canadian Grand Prix if George had not crashed.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens. Still a lot to play for. Next up, let's talk about, is McLaren the new Ferrari? Because what the fuck was that? What's your view? I think I might have your reaction with me anyways.
Yeah, probably.
You I think I wrote they might have fucked up. Where is it?
I think I just text you randomly, like, did Ferrari go to... Where did I put it?
Did McLaren go to the Ferrari strategy college over the winter?
Yeah. Yeah, just the thing is, I
I
can
didn't do
understand why they had intermediates on, not when the race started, but like in the build up to the race, because even Hamilton was like, yeah, I had those on as well just before we started. And not great the Ferrari did it, but like, you know, and then Matteo Binotto, actually his team was the only other one to do it. So it seemed like a full on Ferrari, you know. Yeah, it seems like everyone who, but like, I got it when you were like driving on the installation laps, because there was a bit of water around, and it was like, that could have been the great call, especially with how, you know, cold the tires were. But as soon as it got to the point where you were kind of like putting the tires on for the race, that was the point where I was like, what are you guys doing? Like, this is insane. You know, I didn't see the point there at all, you know? So
for me, for me, the whole thing is okay, fine. At the very, very early stages, maybe let's assume that conditions are conducive for intermediate tires. But those conditions are only going to be that way for 3 or 4 laps at best.
Yeah.
Are you expecting to pull off a gap worth a pit stop within 3 or 4 laps? That's not going to happen. So what
I don't know what they were
there was
thinking.
no rain forecast at all afterwards. So
I understood when Audi took that chance, because Audi were like,
of course.
you're kind of, okay, we can take a gamble here. Like, best case, we're in the points, we're out of the points at the minute. Worst case, we end up out of the points. Like, you know, let's
you're not
chance
losing
it.
anything.
Yeah, McLaren doing it was insane, and then the rest of their race was just insane as well.
Absolute
to be perfectly
disaster.
honest, like, the whole thing was just a mess.
It completely unraveled, and what are they thinking? Why are they weren't thinking like a top team. They aren't thinking like a reigning champion, because if you are thinking like a reigning champion, you don't take gambles of this magnitude. It makes no sense. Then, and you have to sit and think. First of all, we had the race in Miami where they were ultra conservative with Lando and they potentially lost a race win. Here they were ultra aggressive. So that's very Ferrari like.
They're just they're just getting their bad strategy calls out of the way early. That's all.
Yeah, but it's been a trend, isn't it? Because we saw the same nonsense in Qatar last year that caused them a
Yeah.
race win. We saw the same
Yeah.
nonsense, not the same nonsense, but we saw the disqualification in Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
There seems to be McLaren is being a bit exposed by how proficient Mercedes is working right now. I think
Yeah.
it's fair to say, because on one hand you have Mercedes where things are working like clockwork.
Mhm.
They get into a weekend, they clock everything, check all boxes, very German in a way,
Yeah. Yeah.
and get everything done. And then you have McLaren where it's a bit like, let's be a bit more cavalier. And I don't understand. This is a team that won the last 2 championships. Why have they not evolved enough? Why are they being this poor?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't really make much sense. But
Yeah.
I just, to be honest, like the strategy call in Miami, that's the kind of thing where you're like, okay, just, sometimes you make the wrong call and it just happens, and like Mercedes, I think as well, you could say like Mercedes in Japan made the wrong call with George and then the safety car came out. It was kind of like you left yourself open to something like that happening, like those calls are fine. This one was just, I don't know how, but that's like something they're going to have to look into as just a massive, massive failure of communication, whatever happened there. Because basically something happened where if you decided you were going to go on the inters at the start of the race when most of the track looked dry, at the very least, you need to have someone at the other side where it's wet during the installation laps, touching the ground and telling you like, okay, this is still wet. We should try this. But as soon as they came around and they were on that back part, I was like, how has nobody checked this? Like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
Because as they were coming through the final hairpin, it was like, this is bone dry. Like, what are you guys doing?
Exactly.
And then they were like, oh, well, look at the tire temperatures. It's like, come on. Even Oscar was like, yeah, like, what are you talking about? Just, I don't know.
I mean, they were boxed and they had to stick with it at that point.
Yeah.
It's worrisome the way they are going right now. I'm for me, it was a bit of a worry that the front wing update did not work here. But I wasn't too bothered about it because once we got to the sprint, you had Lando more or less on par with George when it came to the performance. So fine. In that case, maybe things might be a bit more interesting in the race. But then this happened. They had podium on a platter, and it would have been a double podium for McLaren. Easy.
I think even more than that. I think the thing is, I think, look, at the end of the day for Norris, the gearbox issue probably would have been there anyway. So he probably would have still failed. Like, I mean, regardless of where he was on track. And to be honest, it probably would have just happened earlier if he was really pushing with the other 2 guys. So I think for him, it's kind of like he probably walks away with that's annoying and you guys fucked up, but that was going to happen anyway. Like, so don't do that
why
again.
Why is Norris not getting annoyed a bit more now? There is a championship at play and it's 5 races and I think he has had 3 or 4 DNFs or something.
Yeah.
And then you have on the other hand Oscar, who has also had something similar. But what's going on? Are they not serious for the champ? Where's the aggression and anything? Because they need someone to be very furious with the team right now.
Yeah.
It's very laid back.
I think it'll happen from like the next couple of races onwards. I think basically they've had this whole thing of both drivers essentially wrote off the first like 4 Grand Prix. Maybe this one as well. Like maybe the thinking was, we get to Miami, we have to lock in the setup and it's going to be very much like hit or miss, and then you get to Canada, we're going to still have to lock in setup. As you said, with the front wing, like they clearly need to get the setup correct. And that kind of thing can happen. I mean, you're talking, they've basically brought an entirely new car to 2 sprint weekends. Yeah. And for the front wing not to work off the jump, fair enough. But like, even without that front wing, to me, like in qualifying, they were 10th and a half off, right? That's super close. They weren't a
10th. They were
in the sprint qualifying. They were 3/10 back.
No, but in
sprint qualifying, they were 3/10.
Norris didn't do a clean lap. Norris left a lot of time on the table.
He was 3/10 off in sprint, but But in the actual qualifying, it was a tenth and a half between him and first. So a tenth, maybe less than a
He
tenth
was
between
less than
him
a
and
tenth
second.
behind, right?
Mm,
I think he was less than a tenth behind.
let me check. I can find out right now. So Lando Norris in the last Q3 lap, his best Q3 lap was 1:12.729.
Yeah.
And the best lap was a 1:12.578. So literally a
That's
tenth and a
2
half,
tenths, yeah.
almost exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
But like, if you look at that and then look at the race, the car looked way more planted in the race and like in race trim.
Kinder to its tire as well.
Yeah, but like mainly for me, it was like there was corner entries and corner exits that the McLaren was taking, and it looked like it was just on rails compared to the Mercedes. Like the Mercedes looked a little bit looser around it and so on. So I just think they've like, when you're talking about qualifying, you're talking about like dialing in the absolute ultimate setup of the car. So you're talking like both teams have brought upgrades, but I think McLaren have brought a much more radical upgrade because they've just brought one, whereas Mercedes have brought a big upgrade, but it's building on upgrades over the season. So they have less setup variability to like play around with.
Mm-hmm.
If McLaren were able to dial in to the point where they had a car that in qualifying was a tenth and a half off, and then in the race looked just way more planted.
Even if they were a tenth and a half off, and you had
That's
George
without the
and
new
Kimi,
front wing as well.
yeah, and you had George and Kimi essentially making errors every third lap.
Mm-hmm.
Lando would have been there to pick up the pieces, isn't it?
I think there's a chance Lando could have won that race, basically.
Yeah.
You know, like
There was a
I
chance
think so.
that and Lewis would have won the race because because of the way
The two of them
Kimi and
crashing.
George were going. Yeah,
yeah.
They,
But yeah, so I think McLaren genuinely, I'm doubling down on like I think McLaren have the best car. The question will be, can they fix these silly
operational
issues?
Yeah,
Yeah. But I think the reason I say Lando is I just think like Lando clearly just has his head on of like everything I've seen him talking is kind of the Lando that I actually think is the most dangerous, because Lando is very quick. He's not making mistakes and he's not getting upset over everything. It's just like they're having these moments where the thing's going and he's like, we're kind of expecting the car to be shit. It's a lot better than it is right now. I'm in the fight. And I think like,
yeah.
I think he'll come to a Monaco and then to a Barcelona when they
And
have everything set
Barcelona
up.
is the race. That is
Yeah.
the race where things will become clearer.
I think you're going to have Kimi and George angry and annoyed at each other. And you're going to have Lando who just like sees an opportunity and goes for it. And that kind of Lando for a championship, I think is a dangerous Lando. Like that's a Lando with maybe the best car, with, you know, just not a care in the world. Like if I win another championship, great. You know, like that's a Lando that is just going to go out and drive as fast as he can and not get upset when things don't go his way. So that becomes a Lando that, unlike 25 and 24, you can't really max him off the road. You can't just scare him off because he's like, whatever, like fuck you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
so that's why I think it's not over yet for McLaren
There's
by
a
any
lot.
means.
No, I agree with you. There's a lot to play for.
As long as they
whole-
don't do this again, obviously.
They've gotten all their errors out of the system by now. There's
You
nothing
would
more
hope,
left.
right?
Yeah,
You would
because
hope.
anything more afterwards, it's like, guys, why are you even racing in that case?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
that becomes a bit too much.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's see. Next up, so let's talk about probably the driver of the race weekend. Let's talk about Lewis Hamilton.
I was genuinely, my daughter actually bought this the other day, and I know this is technically, I don't think this is Hamilton because it's a
This
Ferrari
is,
with the
right?
white
Yellow
front. Yeah, but
helmet.
it's the white front. It's the old one, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know who the yellow helmet's supposed to be, because it's got Fiat on the back. So this is definitely an old.
No.
This is a Michael Schumacher Ferrari, I would guess.
No. Michael had a red helmet.
No, I just mean the Ferrari is like that era.
No. This is the 2016 Ferrari, I guess.
Are you sure?
They remember the 2016 Ferrari had a. 2016 Ferrari was a bit too white.
Yeah, but the Ferrari, the Santander sponsor wasn't there. Oh, it was. You're
Yeah,
right.
it was.
But yeah, there's too much white. Basically, it's not
It's not a
it's
Ferrari
not
that won.
accurate. It's not accurate in any way, this thing. But anyway, it's my daughter likes it because it's Lewis Hamilton's helmet with a Ferrari. So she
Yeah.
now just has, she doesn't understand it at all, but she basically just has something to look at where she's like, oh, that's my Ferrari. So yeah, she was interested in watching it for like about 20 minutes because she saw her Ferrari fighting.
Mhm.
And she was like,
Mhm.
he's going to win. And I'm like, he's not going to win, but he's going to come second, I think.
Yeah.
Anyway, all of that to say, this is a Lewis Hamilton I haven't seen in, and this might piss people off, I would say since 2020, personally. Like, this was amazing. Like, 2021 Lewis Hamilton, he was aggressive, but he made too many mistakes. This was 2020 just locked in, I am a fucking world champion, Lewis Hamilton. He was just enjoying it. He was just out there to hunt. And he showed that Max Verstappen can only win in a newie car. So I think it was great.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think this was Lewis Hamilton's
agree?
best weekend in red. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this
is
was
best
Lewis
one.
Hamilton's best weekend in red. But I also think this weekend kind of exposed what I've been very critical of Charles, and I think this weekend showed that. Because okay, so there are a few things that we can talk about. First is the Lewis Hamilton versus Max battle. Then the Ferrari dynamics, and then why Ferrari was competitive here. Which one do you want to pick first?
Why was Ferrari competitive here? That's probably the first thing to answer.
Yeah. Okay, so Ferrari, as when we sat down and talked about Ferrari before and during the preview, our expectation was that Ferrari was going to be fourth fastest here, right? So
Yeah.
a couple of things worked for Ferrari. The first is that because the temperatures were very low here, so it was much cooler conditions. What Ferrari has shown in this season already, it is probably the best when it comes to firing up the tires and putting them in the right optimal temperature. That's why they have higher tire deg as well. Also, we've seen the higher tire deg in Miami. We've seen them having better ability to fire up the tires in China, where I think it was Lewis who took the lead from Kimi. This was what helped them on a very basic level. Then came the other part, which is their smaller turbo. So as I said earlier, when we talk about Canada, it's essentially a combination of short straights and two long straights. In those short straights, because you have a smaller turbo, you have better acceleration, and hence you'll be able to punch yourself. It will be better out of traction zones.
Yeah.
So the most time that Lewis was making over the Mercedes powered cars or even the Red Bulls was through the traction zones. In those short sections, he made up most of his time.
Yeah.
Where he was losing the time, it was from the hairpin to the finish line, the long
Yeah.
straight. And that's essentially the long and short of it. That's why Ferrari was competitive. And if the temps were higher, if we probably had a race a bit later during June or maybe in July, whenever we used to, we might not have a similar situation. We might have Ferrari struggling a bit more.
Yeah.
That's one thing. That's one area where Ferrari was probably competitive. And if you remember, Max complained about tire temps a lot on the medium tires, and Lewis never spoke a peep.
Yeah.
Had to do with that. That's why Ferrari was competitive. Now, the Lewis Hamilton move on Max. What's your take? Because I gave my take and I've been called a racist, a Lewis Hamilton hater, a Max
What was
Verstappen
your
fan.
take? What was your take?
I explained how the overtake took place. And that
Okay.
it wasn't Lewis Hamilton outbreaking Max Verstappen. It's because Max Verstappen's Red Bull went into harvest mode.
Yeah, I mean, both things can be true though. But anyway,
No, it
Yeah.
is. It's there. Wait,
No,
which both
I'm-
things?
no,
Me being racist and being Lewis. What?
you really hurt my punchline there. I was gonna say the overtake reasoning can be true, but you can also be a racist.
Yeah. See, I knew where you were going with it. So
But yeah, I mean, look, yeah, he definitely got helped by Thingy's car going into recharge. But at the same time, he was putting. I think it was almost kind of inevitable as well that he was going to overtake because he was just putting him under so much pressure, and I think his Ferrari just had the best on it through the turns, and he just needed one area to kind of make the overtake. So I think it was going to happen. Like, I don't think that takes away from the fact that Hamilton was driving brilliantly all weekend. Like, I love how
I
people are
didn't
like,
take anything away from him. I just
no, but that's what I'm saying.
the
I
whole
love
thing.
I love how people do that. You know, you can like literally, you could just say, oh, the way he was able to overtake is because this happened on X car. And people are like, oh, you clearly have to take everything away. It's like, no, he still drove brilliantly, but this is Formula
Yeah.
One. Like, if Max has the best car, he's going to win every race. Like, that doesn't mean that no one else can win a race. It just means Max has the best car.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that Max
Exactly.
like is a terrible driver. It just means that obviously having the best car helps. Like, this is Formula One. These people are crazy. But anyway, yeah.
Yep. So actually, the whole furore broke up because Damon Hill had reacted to the whole overtake and said that this was similar to how Nigel Mansell used to do it in the past. And like, what the fuck are you talking about? This had nothing to do with it. So just to give an explanation, because look, the problem that happens here is people have no clue what's going on with these regulations.
They just
They
end it
see
there.
something, they interpret something,
you
and the
didn't-
reality is something else. Because
You didn't need the rest of that sentence.
Yeah.
People have no clue. Done. That's
Exactly.
it. That's all you need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of the comments that you see, they're saying, so Max expended all the battery. And like, that's the problem. You don't get it. It's almost 50% of the overall power. Drivers don't even have control on the deployment. He didn't expend it. It's just the algorithm. That's the entire game here.
Yeah. I mean,
And-
look,
but,
you can also like, the thing is, right? You know, for those of people who want to be like, oh, well, you're just saying Max did this. It's like, well, no, you could also interpret it the other way, which is Lewis was holding on, watching that, knew that point was going to happen, and then took that lunge. Like Lewis did it strategically there. Like, people just want to go whichever way will make people the angriest. That's the route they're going to go instead. So just,
Yeah.
this is why I just ignore people now. So, yeah.
Yeah, I've slowly started accepting that thing as well.
Yeah.
You're right on that. They went after Mark Hughes. Lewis Hamilton fans lost their marbles and they went after Mark Hughes. And you had comments like, you geriatric loser. You did the right thing by retiring. You're pathetic old man. And like, Jesus Christ. I mean, and
Yeah,
when-
these
once
people, I'd
I
say.
read those comments, I'm like, fine, man. In that case, if they come out and abuse me, I'm like, fine. If
These people
Mark
are
is
saying,
not spared,
like, there's-
then yeah.
There's
Exactly.
just no point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, this is why, like, I'll only read comments if I'm in the mood to just annoy people by saying things and then leaving. Like,
Yeah.
you know, just not having notifications on. I generally just go in, say something that I know will upset someone, and then I'll just go. And then I just never hear about it again, knowing that that person for the next 3 hours is, and I'm just like
Oh,
sitting
God,
there
yeah.
going, what's happening? There's no point. These people are crazy, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I see people on our videos and on mine as well who give like 10-minute comment rants about something I've gotten wrong. And my response is just, thanks for correcting the info. And it's like, you could have just not watched the video. Like, what are you doing? Like, seriously.
Yeah. No, I'm more
There's
than
a
happy.
whole world out there.
People should keep doing that.
There are so many viruses you can catch out there. Just go and
hope-
enjoy it.
I hope more people do that in the comments. I'm more
Do these
than happy
people
with
not
it.
realize they could be alcoholics? They could be in fights on the streets. There's a lot more things they could be doing, you know?
Yeah. But they chose a better option. So yeah.
No, they didn't.
Yeah. Coming back-
I genuinely would say alcoholism is more useful than what these people are doing. Like, you know.
Yeah, I agree.
And I'm not saying alcoholism is good. The opposite. I'm saying it's a terrible thing to do. I'm just
Yeah,
saying these
this is
people are
worse.
more idiotic.
I don't disagree with that. I mean, the kind of nonsense that you see. But yeah. Coming back to it. So when it comes to the whole Lewis Hamilton versus Charles Leclerc debate, where do you end up on it?
Oh, I mean, obviously, you know, Lewis's DNA is in the car. And I think it's very, very clear as well that Lewis is now being managed by Kris Jenner, who can
The
bring
what?
success to everybody. Kris Jenner is now clearly managing Lewis and has turned things around.
Which one is Kris Jenner?
Kim Kardashian's mother.
I have no idea. I have no idea of the Kardashian family.
Well, anyway, it's Kim
that is one
Kardashian's
part of the-
mother.
Yeah.
And she managed to turn like OJ Simpson not being guilty and a promiscuous tape being leaked into a multi-billion-dollar empire. So if she can do that, maybe she's the only person who can turn Ferrari into champions again. So I think that's...
Yep.
I reckon Kris Jenner will replace Fred Vasseur by next season, frankly. I think
That's the only answer.
I think she's our
That's
only
the only
hope
solution.
for a
Has to be.
Ferrari championship.
Yeah.
Just don't get Bruce Jenner involved. He's not a great driver, you know.
Which one is Bruce? I have no idea.
Sorry, I've done it
Kardashian
again.
family.
It's not Bruce. It's Caitlyn Jenner. Sorry, dead named. My bad. Anyway, moving on.
I have no idea. I have no idea about that bunch.
That's Kim
that's one part.
Kardashian's. Sorry, that's Kylie Jenner's father turned mother.
I have no
Remember
idea
the-
who Kylie Jenner
The
is.
trans. Bruce Jenner was a Olympian in the 70s or 80s. Married Kris Jenner after she left Kim Kardashian's dad,
Married
Robert
Kris Jenner.
Kardashian. Married Kris Jenner.
Man,
Not
I
Christian,
don't fucking
Kris
care
Jenner,
about all
right?
these people.
Anyway,
Screw them.
then he became a she, which is fine. Just trying to explain it the only way I can. This is definitely going to get me cancelled somehow,
became
but
a
it's
she?
fine. Bruce Jenner, the former Olympian, became Caitlyn Jenner. I think it's Caitlyn Jenner. I could be wrong here. And then had a
I've heard the
horrific
name
accident
Caitlyn
in a
Jenner.
car, at which point
Okay.
Ricky Gervais said became an icon transsexual, but didn't do many things for women drivers, was the big joke that he made.
Okay.
Hence, I was saying maybe we shouldn't let him drive the car. And then I realized I shouldn't have said him. And now I've just got us entirely cancelled by dead naming. It doesn't matter. I'm sure it'll be
Do
fine.
people
I've
care
said
about
worse
all
things
this?
on.
I have no idea.
Well, given the things I've said on this podcast, I would imagine our listeners don't. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
So
Let us know in the comments.
if I end up on the news next week, it'll do wonders for our numbers. So it'll be fine.
Yeah.
You know,
I hope
me
you
getting
do.
cancelled will really help us. You know.
I have no problem with that.
Yeah. Me being
Yeah.
on Piers Morgan shouting things will,
Oh, Jesus
really
Christ,
help our
that's an
numbers.
obnoxious dude. Seriously. Yeah.
Great ratings, though. Anyway, let's get back to this.
Yeah, let's get
Look,
back to it.
Leclerc
Lewis
lost
Hamilton,
because
Charles Leclerc.
Lewis
Let's
was
talk
better.
about that. Yeah, whatever he said. Coming back to it. Okay, so first of all, Lewis completely, I think, demolished Charles. This is probably there were a few weekends in 2019 where Leclerc had nothing for Seb, but this is probably one of those weekends where he had no idea. There was zero confidence in the car for some reason. Nothing. I mean, this is also not Leclerc's best tracks. Canadian GP, he's not really done well here, even in general. But that's, you know what the problem is with Leclerc?
He drives for Ferrari. What's the other one?
Yeah, other than that,
What's the other
he's
one?
too nice. He's too nice.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That's his problem. He should. And on track, he is a bit of a bastard, and there's no. I think on track he's as good as a Leclerc, as good as a Max on time at times in general. But I think where he falls short is he's not a complete package when it comes to stuff away from the track.
Mhm.
This is his 8th season at Ferrari, and even by now, why is Charles Leclerc being forced to adapt to the car that Ferrari builds, and why is the car not adapted to Charles Leclerc's style?
Yeah.
Because he's again. So here's how I expect the season to go. Leclerc currently is going through something similar what he went through in 2025, 2024, and even 2023. The first few races of the season, it takes him some time to adapt to the new car, and you'll see that the gap between the two drivers is a bit minimal. But then once he's got on top of it, he starts pulling the gap, and then he's basically stamps his authority in the teammate battle. But he shouldn't be forced to adapt. It should be the other way around. And the reason why he's the one who's adapting to whatever car Ferrari is giving him, it's because he's not strutting his weight within the team. And that's entirely down to him. If in the 8th season of your Ferrari stint, Ferrari still doesn't think you're the one whose input should be paramount and your performance should be optimized in every fucking way, and it's your fault. It's not Ferrari's fault.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what's going on right now, because every race, and I tried to do a bit of an analysis on this thing. Every race weekend I've seen in 2026, the FP1 starts with Lewis Hamilton having a more comfortable baseline compared to Leclerc. But as the weekend progresses, Leclerc first catches up, then starts pulling away. Why? Because he's adapting to the car, and then he reaches a point where he's far more comfortable than Lewis. This time around, he didn't have enough time, and the transition from the sprint to the qualifying, it didn't really work out for him. In the future, it will. But these are the races that he's missing out. It should not be this way, it's just baffling for me, because either his management is poor, either his entourage is pathetic, but things are not clicking. This is the year where he has to make things work, and he's not doing that. But yeah, let's see. Yeah.
If Ferrari aren't fighting for the title this year anyway, he needs to just leave. Simple as. Because
I asked John Alesi this question.
This is as good as Ferrari gets. You know what I mean? What did John Alesi say? Something Italian, and then
he's a Ferrari baby. He's not going anywhere. I'm like, okay, fine. I mean, he spent 8 years. He spent 8 years there. What do you expect? But yeah.
If he stays at Ferrari, he's not winning a championship, and that's that. So
ever, that's it. Because now this is the point from where
unless
his
Christian
stock is going to start dropping.
Obviously.
Not happening.
Never say never.
Yeah, never say never. True, but yeah, it's he's at a point in his career where if he doesn't make the right call now, this is the point from where things will start falling. Because you already
Charles,
have. Yeah.
Just the point, the right call is not to go to Red Bull, no matter how much they sell you. It's a bad idea. Just do not go there.
Yeah,
it's going to fall apart. You'd be better off going to Alpine at this point. So
yeah, I agree. I'd rather go to Aston Martin. I'd rather wait if BYD comes in. Or go there. But yeah,
just
let's see.
Anywhere but Red Bull is a bad idea.
Yeah.
And
at this point, I think
Speaking
we should say. First of all, I think at this point, we should give Lewis his flowers. We never do that. I mean, we usually bash him like anything. But this was Lewis of old. When he has a car where he's good enough, he's comfortable and everything, and he's able to express himself, it's still there.
It's genuinely exciting to watch. And if it does turn out, ironically, that me saying he doesn't work that hard, he's never in a simulator, and this weekend he's like, I gave up simulators, I'm just going to the car. If it turns out that the simulator was the cause of his problems, I apologize.
It's not a cause of his problems.
No, he'll be back to normal next week. But you know, it was fun. It was fun to see old Hamilton. It's like you know, when your granddad has problems when he's in his 70s and he comes lucid for a minute. That's what it felt like. You know, the old man's back for a race weekend.
Yeah, I said give Lewis his flowers, and we completely went in the other direction, but which was. Right.
In fairness, expected. we got to see Alonso become lucid for a few minutes as well. So that was good.
Yeah.
The two old men on the track were back for a few minutes, and then
seriously.
And then we went.
By the way, the podium was Kimi Antonelli, 19 years of age, Max Verstappen, 28 years of age, Lewis Hamilton, 41 years of age.
Yeah.
These are your three generations together.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Pretty crazy.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Okay, jumping in. So talking about facing fan backlash, this was the one for which I also faced a lot of fan backlash.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. So on this one, I got called.
Stop reading the comments. That's what you should do. Just
Look, when you see Mark Hughes entertaining the nonsense, I'm like, fine. Even I can in that case. But
Mark Hughes, stop reading the comments. Anyway.
And come to the podcast. Open invitation, Mark Hughes. If anyone can, any of our viewers can reach out. Yeah, if any of our viewers can reach out to Mark Hughes and tell him to come to the pod, we'll be more than happy to have him on. Yeah. Okay. So Max getting a podium and everything, fine, good. Why I faced a lot of fan backlash was because I said that Max was out of order for throwing the team under the bus after qualifying. You saw the whole thing, right?
What did he say? I saw something roughly, and then I kind of went about my day. So
yeah. So what he said was that there's a certain setup approach that Red Bull pushed for, and that approach in Max's view was not the best one. even though he
Oh.
qualified in P4, P5 something, and ended up getting a podium in the end. And he took shots at them that, again, this was their call. I told them not to do this, but they still went ahead. Sometimes I have to do things to show them that they're wrong. Something on those lines. Like, that's not how you talk to Red Bull. Yeah. So for me, the whole thing was, okay, fine. Here's the thing. They push for a certain approach. It doesn't work. You come out and you blab it out in the media. When there are certain cases, which I know for a fact that there are, where Red Bull has pushed for a certain approach and it has worked, why do you not come out to the media and say the same thing?
Yeah,
That
yeah.
they pushed for something and it worked. Or on the other hand, contrary, if Max has pushed for certain approaches, I know it in good authority that this has also happened. If he has pushed for certain approaches against the team's wishes and things have not worked out, should Red Bull come out and go to Telegraph and tell them that, okay, this is what what Max did?
Yeah, exactly. No, it's just ridiculous. And like, when did he say it though? Because like that for me, but was it? It wasn't in the car. It was like in
to Telegraph.
Oh, okay. So
In
it was in
the
a press interview. Oh, well then,
Yeah.
yeah, there's no excuse for that. I can completely understand when it's a driver over the radio in the heat of the moment, they say things that, whatever. I always forgive those because it's like, fine, you've got mad adrenaline running and you're willing to say whatever, But yeah, that's just, he should know better as well. That's ridiculous. Like, that's just, I don't know, like, and then I know his fans will say, oh, well, it's just Dutch directness or whatever, And
No,
I do
his
like
fans say
Dutch directness.
they're putting him through shit and something other nonsense. Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, then he should definitely leave and be completely just forget about the fact that he only has 4 championships because he was driving for that team. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think those sorts of comments should be reserved for when you're trying to like get something or when the team is genuinely not doing something for you. But like when it's a team that has literally built its entire self around you and done everything they can to keep you happy, to come out and say that, I don't care if someone wants to say that's Dutch directness. In the rest of the Western world, we have a word for that. It's called being a dick. So just don't do it. Like it's fine. If it's Ferrari, I'm like, yeah, they probably deserve it. But like for Red Bull, come on. Like they're doing everything to make you happy. It's just, and Red Bull are notorious for going from Friday to Saturday and getting it right. And they make a mistake and you call it. And we don't even know if they made a mistake. Maybe that was as good a setup as it could be. Like, who knows?
Yeah,
You know what
he
I mean?
ended up
Like,
on the podium. He
Yeah,
had
exactly.
a better result on the Sunday's race than he had in the sprint. So
well, there you go.
make of it what you
so, yeah.
yeah.
I don't know. That's
By the way,
a bit ridiculous.
Yeah, so the impression that I got from Max during the race weekend was he's either trying to negotiate a bigger salary or he's looking for a way out. These are the only 2 things that I could actually figure out because the way look, since I've also conducted a lot of these interviews, I know when questions are already scripted. And the sit down interview that he had with Telegraph, these were scripted questions. They weren't questions that were something that Max was asked off the cuff. The question about Juan Pablo Montoya already planned. The question about Max Verstappen's future in 2027 already planned. Then will he stick with Red Bull? Specifically asked for no fucking reason, already planned. I mean, look, honestly, the Telegraph is his lapdog right now. It's that's his way of communicating in the media. And what comes out is, first of all, the weekend begins with Jos Verstappen and his entourage sitting with Toto Wolff, openly having a conversation. Then you had the scenario where Max commits to a 2027 season in F1, but does not commit with Red Bull. And then he lashes out at the team. So I don't know. It just seems that either he's trying to negotiate for a bigger pay or he's looking for a way out.
The bigger pay thing is kind of wild. Like, I guess because I have it on good authority from all of his fans that he doesn't care about money. But anyway, I just don't. Yeah, I don't know. Like, neither of those things seem appropriate because, like, if you're looking for more money, like, I think Red Bull would be willing to just pay whatever to keep you for 2027 anyway. So, like, that doesn't feel like it
I
needs
mean,
to be
they're
this
already
massive
paying him
strong arm.
whatever,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. And, like, Red Bull's not exactly short for cash. Like, they can, if it's an extra 10 million, like, what do Red Bull care? You know what I mean? Like, whatever.
Red Bulls are not transiting through the Strait of Hormuz anyways.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You know, Red Bull can bypass all of that with their cans anyway. Red Bull can afford nukes, unlike Iran. So I think there's just not an issue there. And if he's looking for a way out, that seems odd as well, because, like, he's got a way out. So, like, the only way you'd be looking for a way out is perhaps, you know, looking for a way out while trying to save face. Basically, you've said, like, oh, it's for the regulations, and oh no, I love Red Bull, and it's not because I'm losing. And now it's like,
Way out of the
I'll
team
look.
to another team, by the way. I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah.
saying way
So
out
my
of
point is,
Formula
like, yeah. So my point is, like, you've now put yourself in a box where you've said, like, I don't want to be here because of regulations, and now you're like, oh well, the regulations are kind of not the problem. It's the competitive car. But I've already said it's not because of the competitive car, and that it's not because of Red Bull, and that I want to stick with Red Bull. So now you're trying to make Red Bull look bad, so you have an excuse to leave Red Bull. That, like, this all feels like you've gone through the Jos Verstappen school of management, and it's pretty atrocious.
Yeah,
So
sure.
I don't know. Yeah. This is another thing where, as well, like, Red Bull's going to come off looking stupid either way anyway here, because either they are in a position where they have a driver bad mouthing them and they're going to have to beg him to stay, or he's going to leave anyway, and a year after Horner leaves, they've basically lost everything good about the team in 12 months. So either way here, Red Bull looks stupid, don't they? And Max can kind of just do what Max wants to do, and people will judge him or they won't, depending on how they feel about Max. And I don't feel bad about Max in any way. I just think this is a poor, I don't know, I just think this is a
No, I
bad
don't
way to
feel
go
bad
about things.
Max. I think he's the thing that happens is, for me, and I think I've said it far too many times. When I look at Max and I use any benchmark to compare him with, it's usually I compare him with Michael, because that's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
only benchmark that I think he's in the same conversations. Michael
He's the
never
best driver
bad.
since Schumacher. We both
Yeah.
kind of agree on that almost. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, so
And
far, you know, Vettel
far.
was in that case until 2013, and he
Yeah.
went the way of Verstappen in 2014 onwards. So we'll see.
Yeah. So
Please go to Ferrari, Vettel, or Verstappen. Please go to Ferrari.
that's also happening, by the way. I forgot
Yeah,
to we forgot to talk about this. There are conversations with Ferrari as well. So what I forgot my chain
You were
of
saying
thought.
you don't feel bad about Verstappen, and he's the only
Yeah.
person you benchmark him against is Michael.
Yeah, because Michael, throughout his career, he wasn't someone who badmouthed his team in any which way. If he wanted
Yeah.
to leave, he left. He even and there's something that stands out with Michael, which probably doesn't stand out with almost any other driver in F1 history. He joined Benetton at a stage where it was a middling team, just close to the top, but it was still a middling team. He left the team as when the team was world champions and he was world champion. He joined Ferrari when Ferrari was no one wanted to touch the team with a 10-foot pole. When he left, Ferrari was the icon of F1. When he joined Mercedes, it was a team that was starting up. They had taken over Braun. It was still, there was nothing there. By the time he left, that team was capable of winning championships. Every team grew with him, and he took the team to the top. By the time Max leaves, he has completely destroyed Red Bull. Everything is gone, completely decimated. That's not good for his. That's not a good look. And even though Toto has his eyes on Max and he might even want to sign him, this is something that should worry Toto, because Max left the house and he destroyed the house he was in.
Yeah.
He played a major role in the whole nonsense, and everyone can say that, okay, this happened, that happened, but he never intervened. He sat on the sidelines when Joss and Helmut Marko completely destroyed everything, and he let them do the whole thing. He sat there and basically gave the consent for Horner's firing. And right now, and again, in some ways, the Red Bull brand, the Red Bull board, they put the trust in him last year when it was, I think it reached a point where it was either Horner or Verstappen, the Verstappen camp. Either of the two were going to stay. They picked the Verstappen camp. It was a short-term call. It was a stupid call in our view. We talked about it here, but they made that call. And now, if the board has put the trust in the Verstappens, the fact that the Verstappens are put showing their back to the board and to the Red Bull family, it won't look good. It just won't look good.
It's just, in Formula One, you need to really build with a team. And like some drivers just put their faith in the team and they back them, and that's it. Schumacher was a very much an outlier because he went in and purposely like kept the team together in a way that like other drivers don't do. Like he didn't just build with the team and say, I have my support here. It was very much like, this is my team around me. And, in the same way Verstappen did with Helmut, of like, if Helmut goes, I go. Schumacher did that with the entire team against the board of Ferrari. Like he sat back and said, no. It's John, it's Rory Byrne, it's Ross Brawn, it's all these guys with me, and it's like if these guys go, I'm gone. Down to the mechanics in the place with him, and it was like it was a real version of we win and lose together. And like that's what you need to do to win at Ferrari, and I think, to be honest as well, like if you don't have the right team as a driver, you need to do that as well. And like the problem with Red Bull right now is it's not that at all. It's just the board are just in charge, and Verstappen, basically, for all of his want of like the team around him, he's very much like, you either deliver for me or I'm gone, and that's that. Like, so the board have basically backed someone who doesn't really give a shit if they succeed or not. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of crazy to me. Like that's
very board like as well.
Yeah. And it just doesn't work if both sides are that way. So it doesn't work usually if one side is that way, and it definitely won't work if both sides are that way. And
we are there, isn't it? That it's the thing is,
I'm worried about Red Bull after this weekend as well, by the way.
Sorry, what?
I'm worried about Red Bull after their performance this weekend as well, by the way. Like, they were on the podium, but they didn't deserve to be. That was very much just down to
multiple people underperforming.
Errors. Yeah, because
it was just down to that.
I said Red Bull should be ahead in the straight lines, and I'm thinking, the more I'm looking at this, the more I think these new regulation changes have taken away Red Bull's like major advantage. Because I think Red Bull had figured out, that went ages ago, but what I mean is, I think Red Bull's deployment and the fact that their engine looked so good was down to the fact that I think they could recharge really well off of the ICE, and I think therefore they had a lot of deployment power, and they were able to easily beat Ferrari and keep up with the Mercedes. And now that I think there's a limit on that recharge, I think that's massively capped what they can do with their engine. And I don't think they fought hard enough.
Also talked about.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, maybe I'm right then, because John Noble's usually right, so that's good. At least I'm not a moron. But that as well, the fact that, like, if that is the correct case, the fact that Red Bull weren't absolutely shouting and moaning about the changes is crazy to me then. Like, if that was Horner and he knew, like, no, our big advantage here is that we've got this recharge advantage over the other guys, he would have been like, no, you can't change mid-season just because you're losing. And Red Bull just, that's fine. Yeah, change whatever. Yep. Like this, this feels like a Red Bull is going to fall apart.
The problem is, how could they moan and cry about it when their own driver has pushed for these changes?
True, yeah.
Right? But again, that's the tussle that's always going to be there. Anyways, let's see. We'll see what happens. The problem is, what the biggest problem is? When Horner was fired and when the whole thing happened, we predict, anyone watching right now can go back and look at that podcast, because we predicted almost each of these things happening. We said that within a year, there's a high likelihood that Max would be gone, Marco would be gone, and all these guys that have been backed, they would be gone. So yeah. Anyways, just by the way, let's just talk about the midfield for 5 minutes, and we'll just go through the questions then. Congratulations, by the way, Franco Colapinto.
Oh well, I just take a moment to thank God and Jesus. Y por mi amigos en Argentina, somos aquí, amigos. Muy bien, muy bien. Anyway, yeah, just honestly, like, this is the thing. it's only been 2 races. Let's not get overexcited about it or anything. I mean, I will, but as a massive Franco Colapinto fan and a fan of people from Argentina hiding their strengths or their Nazi gold. But anyway, the thing, I don't know why that joke just seems so obvious, but I know why, because we just did an episode on Bariloche. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Yeah, I think this is where I kind of expected Franco to be, and I've been kind of surprised he's been so bad the entire time, because I genuinely think he has more potential than Gasly, and I think my expectation was Gasly would have like more consistency and probably pull more points here and there out, but Franco would have these moments of just like absolutely devastating him. Yeah, and because I do think genuinely he showed at Williams like he is a driver who has talent, pace, and willingness to just be aggressive. And then in China we saw he can defend as well. So I think he's just a talent. Do I think he's like the next? I know I joke about it all the time. He's the next Max Verstappen. No, like until
he's the new
proved,
Franco Colapinto.
Yeah, he is the new Franco Colapinto. But I think he's a driver that, like, at the very least, could go on to be one of those drivers who's like a top of the midfield, really pushing things, and maybe like Sainz get lucky into a top team. And it's just been strange. He's just been kind of nowhere constantly. So it's nice to kind of see him performing. Watch now as he crashes at the opening lap at Monaco or something.
Going to Monaco as well.
Yeah. But look, Gasly's a good benchmark, and he's made Gasly look a bit terrible for the last 2 weekends.
Yeah.
And frankly, that is the minimum of what he needs to do for the rest of the season now to keep his seat.
100%.
That's it,
Yeah. I'm
like
very
Gasly shouldn't even be a benchmark for him if he wants to keep that seat, because I can guarantee you Flavio does not rate Gasly hugely highly.
Yeah.
Gasly is just the best person. Yeah, Gasly is just the best person they can get right now. Yeah. That's basically it. So if you're not beating Gasly, Flavio doesn't even rate you as a driver, basically.
There's a moment in the DTS, right, where he said to Gasly, "I thought you were shit."
Yeah.
But yeah, here we are. But yeah, Italians don't have too much affinity for the French anyways.
No, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, Williams slowly making strides, getting very, very close to the very close to where they intended to be at the start of the year. I think by the end of the season, we were probably expecting them to be the 5th fastest car. I think they'll get there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, Arvid Lindblad, what the fuck on the start, but a lot of pace this weekend. He was fast. Yeah.
To be honest as well, Lindblad and Hajar, both of them are very, very impressive. And I think both of those guys are probably the hope for, if Red Bull were genuinely being smart about this and thinking, you know what, keeping Verstappen around is just not a long-term strategy at this stage. Like, I think Red Bull have actually looked themselves into a good position of having 2 very capable drivers to take over when he leaves. And I think them just backing those 2 Red Bull drivers and saying, right, it's a rebuilding phase is a smart thing to do.
Yeah.
My concern is,
you're talking sense, but the sense doesn't really.
Well, my concern is, you heard what someone brought it up in a podcast I was listening to recently, and they had said it last year and it kind of slipped by, but apparently Horner was asked at some point last year how long it would take to rebuild the team, and he said 5 years, and they said you have 3. They gave him 6 months in the end, but like, if they genuinely think
3 days.
Yeah, but if they genuinely think that this is going to be just 3 years of rebuilding after all of this change,
good luck.
They're insane. Like, that's
they are losing people, and again, this is
Horner hasn't even come back yet. Like, when he comes back, losing people right now is going to be nothing. Like, I don't think they realize. Like, I from what I've heard of Milton Keynes and like what it's been like since,
they are losing people every day.
Sure, but I also don't think the board realizes how many people are just waiting to see where he goes to like jump ship.
Yeah,
like, I don't think they realize that it's that big of a deal.
Yeah,
and I think a lot of those guys signed extensions for 12 months, got extra pay, and basically Horner was like, "Yeah, it's fine. I'll get you in 12 months. Take the extra cash. Yeah, it's fine." You know what I mean? Like, it's going to be a shit show. It's going to be really hilarious to watch. Can't wait to say I told you so every podcast for 12 months in a row.
Yeah. Cool. Aston Martin showed improvement. We'll see. We'll say where they goes. I think at least they are starting to finish races. What happened with Alonso? I think it was a gearbox issue that led to him not ending the race.
Which isn't great because the gearbox was the new addition, but
But the performance was there. He was
Yeah, yeah.
he reached Q2
Yeah.
during the sprint quali before crashing, but that was something. Anyways, more or less fine. I think have we forgotten any team? Audi has a lot of work to do with the power unit, so we'll see where they go. Let's jump to the questions.
let's go for it. Let me pull up the
And-
things here.
Where is it? Okay.
Cool. So
missed
Nelson
first.
PK Jr.
Okay. Where
His-
does
his
Kimi
dad-
rank in the list?
I was going to say his dad was on my top 20. Remember
Yeah.
Nelson PK Jr. Anyway,
I know.
yeah. Where
Where
does
does Kimi rank in the list of drivers on the current grid? Wait until the end of the season, I'll say. Give it time.
well by the standings he's first, right? But,
Yeah. What he means is, I mean, we
I
know
know,
what he
yeah.
means. Yeah.
I look, if he keeps performing like this, like even if he doesn't win the championship, because a championship, like it's not just on you. There's so much else that you need to get right, as we've
Yeah.
seen from like drivers over the seasons. But if he keeps driving like this, it puts him in the top 5 or 6 easily
It
on the
puts him
grid
in,
at the
in
moment.
top 2 in terms of pure talent.
Yeah, maybe
okay,
top 2 or 3 anyway.
Let me
Yeah.
paint a scenario for you. Kimi Antonelli comfortably beats George Russell this season.
Mhm.
Okay. Next season, George Russell is replaced by Max Verstappen at Mercedes. And you have
Won't
we will
happen.
win. Who the fuck cares who wins out of those two? We will be
Yeah,
the one
yeah.
who will be winning.
We will win for excitement on the track. Yeah,
A lot of things
But-
are going to happen.
I do not think it's going to happen though.
I would love to see it happen. If it happens or not, I don't really.
You know
I don't
why?
have that
I
much
think
curiosity.
I
of
think this
happening.
George situation, honestly, this George situation is going to make Toto think, I want to keep Kimmy, but if this is stressful with George, there's not a fucking hope Max is coming in here because
problem,
it'll be
you know,
an aneurysm.
Yeah, you know the problem with all of that is
Hilarious for us though. Yeah.
No, that's
yeah.
true. But you know what the problem with
Yeah.
all of that is? If Toto lets Max go, and Max goes to McLaren, which he could, 100%,
Maybe, yeah.
and that's where things get very, very not only interesting, but it would that would be Toto once again letting go of Max, not picking him, and Max going to his direct rival, and then fucking things up for him. This is what will
That's
be going
true.
through his mind. Other
And
than,
I mean,
more than
there's
anything else.
there's a good chance that Max makes the decision not to go to Mercedes as well, just purely based on like if I'm right and from Barcelona, McLaren are the fastest car. Max could very well look at it and go, well, why would I go there when they just have an engine advantage for like 4 races next year when they change it, and then McLaren are back to winning again?
Yeah.
Like, what's the point?
Yeah.
You know? Yeah,
Plus,
Yeah,
most of
let's
the
see.
people from Red Bull have gone to McLaren anyways.
yeah. The question is, does like how quickly does McLaren lock in, say, a Piastri? Because I think Lando now will just stay, and I think McLaren are happy enough to just keep Lando there, basically. So I don't think Lando goes anywhere. Personally, he's a champion, and I think
He's part
he's
of the
very
team.
cool and calm now.
As soon
And if
as
McLaren
Canada
have to
happened, by
drop
the way,
someone,
you know, he jumped on a plane and went to IndyCar, the Indy 500.
Oh, really?
And
yeah,
the McLaren drivers were there as well, so to cheer
Okay.
them and meet Zach and all. So
the question
There's-
is, do they lock Piastri in or not early? You know, like
Let's
that's
yeah,
if I'm Piastri, I'm trying to lock that seat in as quick as I can because
100%.
there's nowhere better to go, and you have to basically back yourself to beat Lando, and Piastri should be able to back himself to beat Lando because he's done it in the past over a succession of
Decent
races.
amount. Yeah,
You know, so yeah, he should lock that in because the last thing Piastri needs is for July to come around, and it's not. Am I locking in a contract
he
against
has
Lando?
a contract
It's
for
am I?
next season, but there are
He has an option, right?
No,
I don't think he actually has the contract. It's
he
an
has
option.
the
I think.
contract. He has the contract until 2027, but there are
Hmm.
exit clauses in place. So,
Okay.
and that's
Yeah.
the thing with, by the way, almost every driver. Leclerc has a contract till 2029. Max has the 28. Lando has 20, I think 28 or 29. So,
I know
but they have the exit clauses.
Max's performance and exit clauses are every season. Leclerc's is the end of, or it's Leclerc's is basically middle of this season, basically. But yeah, okay, interesting. Okay,
yeah.
I for some reason I thought Piastri was on an option for next year.
No,
anyway.
Remember he signed a multi-year deal last year, and Zach Brown had reached out to Max before signing the multi-year.
Yeah. You're right. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
I forgot they extended it last year. Okay. Vettel Hamilton 6500 says, question for Jason and casual fan. So question for the podcast. Do you still think Lance Stroll is the worst F1 driver on the current grid, given how Valtteri Bottas's poor performance compared to Sergio Perez this weekend? First of all, I think all this proves is how damn good Sergio Perez is and how underrated he was, frankly.
Yep.
I'm half joking there, but I do honestly think a lot of people for a lot of time basically said, no, there's no way Valtteri Bottas would absolutely destroy Perez. And I'm like, I don't think we're watching the same sport. And they're like, look how he's performing against Verstappen. It's like, yeah, but that's at Red Bull. Like the moment Perez had a competitive car that he could drive at Red Bull in 23, they were like, we're changing the whole car, and just made it undrivable for him, like within 5 races. So I don't think that's a fair assessment anyway of Perez in general. Not to this guy in particular. I just mean he was brilliant pre 2020, and even in 2021, look what he did for Red Bull that season. Like, you know,
he won Max the championship.
Yeah. What I'm surprised about with Bottas this year, honestly, is I just expected Bottas to win in qualifying because Bottas is a really good qualifier. But maybe what this has shown us is that Hamilton's actually just a really terrible qualifier. I think that's, if we were to really batch this out, you know.
The funniest thing is there are a lot of these data accounts on Twitter which have basically made their entire accounts on the basis of doing cross comparisons from Lewis Hamilton in 2007, using that as a benchmark to compare Alonso and all these jumping comparisons. And now you have all their, essentially the entire life's work going down the drain with Bottas shitting the bed against Perez.
Yeah.
Look, the reality is when it comes to Finns, they have a habit of just phoning it in after a certain point in their career.
That's true. And I think honestly though, if we were to look at any given data point and run it through as many calculations as humanly possible, the answer would still come out that Lance Stroll is by far the worst fucking driver on the grid.
Yeah.
I think genuinely, I mean, even if he outperformed Latifi, I would still say Latifi is a better driver. So yes, I do still think so.
Latifi never brought a former IDF soldier to the paddock, so that's
Latifi also won the 2021 World Champion for Max Verstappen. So you know, I think, yeah.
CPB 1998. Cool. In 2020-21, we had George hailed as the next in line for Lewis. Now in 2026, he's slowly becoming David Coulthard 2.0. Poor DC taking shots for
this
some reason.
Isn't it weird though that this, like, I think Lewis kind of got lucky as well in some ways, like in that it's weird that this kind of happens sometimes, isn't it? And this has happened a few times in the past, just off the top of my head. Like, yeah, like just thinking about it in terms of though, like how many times has a world champion as well, or like someone going for their championship got to the point where they could win a championship and then the young driver comes in and challenges it. Like Lando last year kind of got lucky because he came into a season where McLaren finally had the best car from the start of the season.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden Oscar was there. You know, George has been waiting for this for so long and all of a sudden Kimi's right there.
Yeah.
Fernando should have been going for a third title and all of a sudden Lewis appears and he's right there and like destroys that. Obviously a lot of other things destroyed that for him too, but you know what I mean? It's right there. And like this has happened a few times, hasn't it? Where it's like the guy who should be bang on for world champion, like this should be an easy run to world championship for George Russell, as long as the McLarens don't upset it too much. But we're in a situation where all of a sudden Kimi's just right there. This just happens so often. And like what I mean about George is like if George had have gotten his seat in 2021, as he was kind of supposed to, apart from them just pushing the regulations back by a year, if George had got that seat in 2021. 2020. Yeah, but even if we say 2021, if George had got that seat, Lewis isn't even fighting for that title. Like Max is probably winning it more easily, but it's probably George fighting Max more than Lewis fighting Max, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So
2020 Sakir Grand Prix showed everything, and we
Yeah.
still George doesn't get the credit that he deserves, and I think we are. I'll just say one thing. I saw this stupid clip from. With all due respect, Peter Windsor comes up with a lot of bullshit. A
How's his
lot of
team
bullshit.
doing?
Sorry.
do you know what me and Peter Windsor have in common?
What?
Neither of us have got an F1 team to the grid.
Yeah. Yeah.
We've both had the idea of
Not
starting
for the
an
lack
F1
of
team,
trying.
and we've both had as many races in F1. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Because according to him, he made the claim that Oscar Piastri, Pierre Gasly, and who's the third driver? Charles Leclerc. They are struggling against their teammates. And for a moment, I had to go back and cross check, and I realized, okay, he's making this statement after Canada. We came into this weekend with the narrative that Lewis Hamilton has to start performing again because the trend is of 2025 once again. We also had Franco Colapinto's seat in danger just 2 races back. We also had, in the same way, just 2 races back, I remember vividly where Oscar finished second in Japan, and many people said that this showed that Lando was not good enough. Within 2 races, the entire fucking thing has flipped.
Well, the good news is I'm only losing my hair. Peter's losing his mind, so that's fine. Flaky, what's more mentally challenged, McLaren's strategies or their weather forecast? Also, why do the weather gods hate us? Yeah. We should have got a rainy race.
Well, we are lucky we didn't, because we won't have had a race. That's how bad. Yeah.
Yeah, it was supposed to be pretty bad. Yeah.
Yeah. Why? Because
Yeah.
the amount of power is just too much for the cars to stay
Yeah.
on track.
Yeah.
Yeah. Question for Jason. Jason, we have a question for you. Remember when you said that Max will get a podium because you feel it will be a crazy race? I did feel we would get a crazy race, but for both McLarens to go to the intermediate tires when the track is dry. Oh man, it's even funnier when you read the whole thing.
Did I say Max would get a podium last week? I did,
I
didn't I?
don't remember.
Oh, I did, but it was because one crazy race. But I think I also said Red Bull should be fast here.
Yeah.
That makes. So I got it kind of for the wrong reasons. But yeah, the reason I said this is because I did have some small doubt that the race will be crazy like you predicted. I'm glad we got a crazy race. I don't remember predicting it, but then again, me and Peter Windsor are both losing our minds, so it's all right. Okay.
Oh, God.
I guess the other question then for you.
Do you think Charles Leclerc is under pressure? He's only 3 point. No, I don't think he is. I am surprised. I'm saying, okay. He could
And consider next race is Monaco, where I feel he is going to be more unlucky. He could end up at the end of Monaco GP behind Lewis Hamilton in the Drivers' Championship. And I am surprised I'm saying this, consider Leclerc is the better driver. I will just put in before you start, which is, wasn't Lewis ahead at the start of last season as well for a couple of races? So it's not like unprecedented.
Yeah, it's
Leclerc takes a while to.
Yeah, it's the same pattern almost every year. So yeah, the thing is, by roughly, I think, after, let's wait for 3-4 races, we'll be back to status quo. It's the same thing that happens every time. That's the problem, right? And again, it comes down to Leclerc not being assertive enough.
Yeah.
The team should be built around him, but he has to take the initiative. And if he cannot, then it's his loss. He's losing.
Do you think he'll stick around at the end after the end of the season?
I don't think why he's stuck around until now. For me, the problem
No,
is
but
he should have been gone by now.
I mean, staying till 2026, I think, was the pragmatic choice after like 24, say, because there was no point kind of gambling when you don't know where everyone's going to be.
Yeah.
Because like, imagine he goes to like Red Bull, for example, or like Aston, like, would have been having a worse time anyway this season. So, but do you think he stick around at the end of the season? Because I'm in two minds. I kind of weirdly think he might. And I don't think it's a right choice, but I think he might.
I think your answer is right, because I think what he needs to do is he needs to start strutting his weight within the team, and what that primarily means is not signing an extension or whatever it is already. Give it time. Wait for wait until the second half of the season. By that time, Aston Martin would have put together their upgrade package, whatever it is going to be. So that will give you a hint. And I would suggest by the time you'll have the Ferrari upgrade package, the upgrade of the power unit as well. So we'll know whether they are going in the right direction or not. Once you have those things in place, he'll probably have things on the table. Maybe, ideally, I would suggest reach out to Zach Brown already, because you can be guaranteed that at least that team has shown the right trajectory, and it has made the right vibes. So
I think the unfortunate thing is I think Ferrari have got enough to dangle to keep both drivers happy for next,
For
because
now.
the change for the engines next season, they'll be like, look at how good our chassis is, which in fairness, it is a very good chassis.
It's the best
It's like,
one,
it's
yeah.
just the deployment, but they're changing it to like 70-30 or, you know, whatever it is for next
60,
year.
40, yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, there's just enough to be like, oh,
Also,
I'll stay for one more
Ferrari
season.
is the team that is opposing the 60-40 change, because if that change happens, the Arduo, that thing will get nullified, and
Yeah.
Ferrari would be one of the bigger losers if the 60-40 thing is implemented.
Right.
So let's see what happens there as well.
Cool.
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
I think Leclerc might end up sticking around, but I in no way am in favor of Leclerc sticking around for 2027.
Yeah.
Yeah, go just leave this nonsense team. Yeah, there's no point. The biggest example was what happened yesterday, right? And I pinged you this thing because as soon as the virtual safety car came, Red Bull saw that, okay, there's an advantage. We can, the whole penalty can be served during this period, and we will have fresher tires and everything. They pitted, they got that done. Oscar Piastri, same thing. Leclerc in no man's land, and if he pitted, he would have lost nothing. Nothing. Ferrari did nothing.
Yeah.
They could have pitted him on to softer tires, and maybe he could have had a better feeling and maybe potentially close the gap to the front. They did nothing. They slept their way through it. And that's
He just wanted to
the
go
reality of the
home,
team.
like
He-
literally.
yeah, he reached a point where he wanted to go home, but the thing is, if you don't dangle the right carrot, he's going to do that. He was left
Yeah.
alone in that race, and that's, I don't know, man. That's just not how things work. But
Yeah.
Ferrari
Doing Ferrari things.
yeah.
And on
And on
that
that bombshell.
horrible bombshell, it's time to end. Thanks everybody for
Bye-bye.
watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Bye.